My wife sold my dead father's toolbox on eBay for $400. My name is Nolan Whitlock and I'm 34 years old. That discovery didn't make me sad. It made me cold, focused, because I realized Victoria hadn't just stolen one toolbox. She'd been systematically liquidating my father Gerald's entire legacy for months, funding her affair and her designer lifestyle with my inheritance. I didn't cry. I didn't beg for explanations. I documented everything, hired the best attorney I could find, and made damn sure she lost everything. The house, the assets, custody of our daughter, and every shred of security she thought marriage provided. This isn't a story about healing or forgiveness. It's about making a thief pay for every single item she stole. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow I will share a story you don't want to miss. But let me start from the beginning. I came home early on a Tuesday afternoon, feeling like death warmed over. Fever, chills, the whole package. My boss took one look at me around noon and told me to get out before I infected the whole office. I pulled into the driveway at 2 o'clock, grateful for the quiet house. Victoria would be at the boutique until 5. I had the place to myself. I kicked off my shoes, grabbed some water, and collapsed on the couch in the living room. My head was pounding. I figured I'd check my email, then sleep until Victoria got home. The laptop was already open on the coffee table. I lifted the screen and saw eBay staring back at me. Victoria's account. She must have forgotten to log out that morning. I started to close the tab. Wasn't my business what she browsed online, but then I saw the listing at the top of her seller page. Vintage Craftsman Toolbox, restored, $400, gently used, excellent condition. The photo showed my father's toolbox, the one he'd spent his last good year restoring, teaching me about patience and craftsmanship while his hands could still grip a sanding block steady. The one with his initials stamped into the leather handle. My stomach dropped straight through the floor. I scrolled down. Victoria's seller history loaded slowly, each item hitting me like a punch. Dad's fishing rod, sold 3 months ago, $200. His war medals from Vietnam, sold 4 months ago, $300. Grandpa's pocket watch, the one Dad had given me the week before he died, sold 6 months ago, $400. The signed Nolan Ryan baseball from Dad's collection, sold 2 months ago, $600. I kept scrolling, kept counting. 23 items total, nearly $6,000 in sales over 8 months. 8 months of her smiling at me over dinner. 8 months of me asking where things went and believing her excuses. Maybe you packed it away. Didn't you donate that during the move? I'd trusted her, completely. The fever fog cleared instantly, replaced by something cold and sharp. At 3:15, I heard her car in the driveway. Victoria came through the front door, humming something cheerful. Designer shopping bags hanging from both arms. Nordstrom. Saks. She was smiling until she looked at the couch and saw my face. "Hey babe, you're home early, are you okay?" I turned the laptop toward her. "Want to explain this, Victoria?" She went white. Actually white, like all the blood drained straight out of her face. Then red flooded back in, starting at her neck and climbing to her hairline. She set down her shopping bags carefully, crossed her arms. "It's my stuff too. We're married." I stood up slowly. My legs felt steady despite the fever. "Your stuff? My dead father's tools are your stuff? It was just sitting in the garage collecting dust." Her voice got defensive fast. "We needed money for bills, Nolan." I gestured at the shopping bags clustered around her feet. "Needed? You needed $1,000 purse? You needed new shoes while you sold my father's war medals? Don't you dare judge me." The shrillness came out now, that tone she used when she knew she was caught. "I work too, Nolan. I deserve nice things. You work part-time at a boutique, Victoria. Part-time. I pay the mortgage. I pay the car payment. I pay for everything that actually matters, and you—" I had to stop myself. Had to keep control. "You stole from me. You stole from my father's memory. It's not stealing if we're married." "It absolutely is. Especially when you've been lying about it for 8 months straight." She switched tactics. Her eyes welled up, tears appearing on command like they always did. "I was going to tell you, we have credit card debt, and I thought—" Show me the credit card statements. What? Show me. Right now. Show me where $6,000 went to paying off our debt. The tears stopped. Just like that. She couldn't show me because we both knew the truth. Those were my things, I said, keeping my voice level. Things my father left me. Things I told you, explicitly, Victoria, meant everything to me, and you sold them for purses and jewelry. You're being dramatic. I'm being dramatic? I laughed, and it sounded harsh even to my ears. Victoria, you sold war medals. You sold a dead man's legacy for Coach bags. And you don't even have the decency to look sorry about it. Fine. She threw her hands up. Fine, Nolan. You want to know the truth? I'm sick of living in a shrine to your dead dad. Every corner of this house is about Gerald this, Gerald that. I needed something for myself. The air left the room. Get out, I said quietly. What? Get out of this house, right now. You can't kick me out. I live here. I own this house. My name is on the deed. My father's life insurance paid the down payment. So you're going to take your shopping bags and your stolen $6,000 and you're going to leave. Now, you have 1 hour to pack essentials. Everything else we'll figure out with lawyers. You're insane. I'm done. We're done. Pack your things. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You're divorcing me over some old junk? No. I'm divorcing you because you're a thief and a liar, and apparently you've been resenting my father's memory our entire marriage. Go stay with Emma. I want you gone. Victoria grabbed her shopping bags and stormed toward the bedroom, screaming over her shoulder. You're going to regret this, Nolan. I'll take you for everything, everything. I sat back down on the couch and waited for her to leave. Victoria's car tires screeched pulling out of the driveway at 5:07 p.m. I watched through the window until her taillights disappeared around the corner. Then I got to work. I started in the garage, Dad's workspace, the place where he'd taught me how to restore old tools, how to measure twice and cut once, how to do things right. The pegboard where his wrenches used to hang showed clean outlines in the dust, ghosts of what should have been there. The workbench drawers were half empty. I pulled out my phone and started taking photos. Every empty space, every missing tool. Then I went inside and began the real inventory, room by room, drawer by drawer, closet by closet. My college ring from the bedroom dresser. Gone. I'd kept it in the wooden box Dad had made for my 18th birthday. The box was still there. The ring wasn't. The study hit me hardest. Grandfather Whitlock's first edition books, Steinbeck, Hemingway, a signed Faulkner. The whole shelf was bare except for paperback novels Victoria had bought. I remembered Grandpa's hands, weathered and careful, showing me the signatures. Real treasures, Nolan. Not the money value. The history. All gone. Mom's pearl earrings. She'd given them to me 3 years ago, the Christmas before she moved to Arizona. For your future wife, she'd said, squeezing my hand, when you find the right one. They'd been in my nightstand drawer in a velvet box. The box was there, empty. I sat on the bed and felt something crack inside my chest. Not grief. Colder than that. Harder. I pulled up Victoria's eBay history on my phone and started scrolling back. Further than the 8 months I'd initially seen. The listings went back 2 years. 24 months of systematic theft, starting 3 months after Dad died. 37 items total. She'd sold my family's history piece by piece while I trusted her, while I worked 50-hour weeks to pay our bills, while I grieved my father and tried to hold our marriage together. The clock read 11:43 p.m. when I finally finished the inventory. I felt hollowed out and coldly furious all at once. Wednesday morning I called Daniel Roberts at 9 sharp. We'd gone to college together, stayed friends even after he went to law school and I went into project management. He specialized in family law now, had his own practice in Houston. Nolan, how have you been, man? Feels like forever since... Victoria's been stealing from me. For 2 years. I need a lawyer. The cheerful tone dropped. Jesus, tell me everything. I told him. All of it. The eBay listings, the missing inheritance, Dad's tools, Grandpa's books, Mom's earrings, 37 items worth thousands of dollars, all separate property from my family, all sold while she bought designer handbags. Nolan, man, I'm so sorry. Daniel's voice went quiet. But here's the good news, if there is any. Texas is a community property state with exceptions. Inherited property remains separate property. Everything she sold was legally yours alone, not marital assets, yours. Can I get it back, the actual items? You want the physical property recovered? I want Dad's tools back, Grandpa's books, all of it. Daniel sighed. Probably not possible. Most of it's been sold to third parties who bought in good faith. They're protected. But here's what you can do. Sue her for the full monetary value in the divorce, every penny. Inherited property is yours, so she effectively stole from you and converted it to cash. That's legally actionable. My hand tightened around the phone. How do I prove the value? Document everything. I mean everything, Nolan. Save all those eBay listings before she deletes them. Download her complete seller history. Screenshot every transaction. Then get professional appraisals for the valuable stuff. The metals, the watch, anything worth serious money. We'll build a line item case. I'm on it. Good. Send me everything you find. We'll make her pay for every single item. I spent Wednesday afternoon and all day Thursday taking screenshots. Every listing, every description, every buyer review. Victoria had been meticulous in her theft. Detailed photos, honest descriptions, prompt shipping, professional grade robbery. Friday, I contacted appraisers, 3 different ones, to make sure the valuations held up in court. The first guy, Marcus Tillman, specialized in military memorabilia. He looked at the photos of Dad's medals, Bronze Star, Purple Heart, campaign ribbons from Vietnam, and shook his head slowly. These sold for $300 total? They're worth $3,000 minimum. Maybe more to the right collector. I wrote it down. The second appraiser, Rebecca Ortiz, handled antique timepieces. She examined the photos of Grandpa's pocket watch, an 1890s Waltham with intricate engraving. $1,200, conservative estimate. Could go higher at auction. I wrote it down. The toolbox appraisal hurt the most. $800 for something irreplaceable. All those hours Dad and I spent in the garage, his patient hands showing me how to sand, how to restore, how to care for things that mattered. You can't appraise memories. Total damages, $8,400. Saturday morning, FedEx delivered a thick envelope. Francis McGraw's law office return address. I opened it standing in the driveway. Cease and desist letter. Aggressive, threatening, full of legal language about harassment and unlawful eviction. The last paragraph demanded I acknowledge Victoria's right to half of all marital assets, including the house and my retirement accounts. I photographed every page and forwarded them to Daniel. He called back 10 minutes later, laughing. She sold $8,000 of your separate inherited property, and now she wants half your savings? He laughed again. That's a bold strategy, Nolan. Francis McGraw is good, but he's working with a guilty client and a losing position. So what do? We document everything just like I said. Then we file for divorce, citing her theft, and demand full reimbursement. Let her try to claim marital assets while she's got a paper trail of felony-level conversion. I smiled for the first time in days. Cold and sharp. Get started on the paperwork, Daniel. I want her buried. Sunday morning, 10 a.m. I was in the garage trying to focus on organizing what remained of Dad's tools when my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Nolan, it's Emma Jang, Victoria's sister. I straightened up. Emma and I had always been cordial. She was the sensible one, the sister who called Victoria out when she got too dramatic. But we'd never been close. Emma, we need to talk. In person. Victoria's been lying to you about more than the stolen items. My hand tightened on the phone. I don't think getting involved with Victoria's family is... Nolan, please. You deserve to know the truth. Meet me for coffee? Just an hour of your time. Something in her voice made me agree. Where and when? Corner coffee shop on Maple Street. 2 o'clock? I'll be there. The coffee shop was quiet for a Sunday afternoon. Emma sat in a corner booth looking nervous, stirring her coffee without drinking it. I slid into the seat across from her. Thanks for coming, she said quietly. You said Victoria's been lying about more than the items she sold. Emma nodded, then took a breath. I shouldn't be doing this, revealing family secrets. But you're a good guy, Nolan. You deserve honesty, even if it's coming late. I waited. Victoria's been having an affair. The words should have hit harder. Maybe a week ago they would have. Now, after everything else, I just felt cold. With who? A guy named Stephen Parker. She met him at the boutique. He's married too. Emma's hands shook slightly. She told me everything last month. Thought I'd take her side, give her sisterly support and solidarity. What did you tell her? That she was destroying her marriage to a good man. That what she was doing was wrong. Emma's voice hardened. She said she didn't care. That you were boring. That you were obsessed with your dead dad and your dead family. There it was again. That phrase. Like Dad's memory was a burden instead of a foundation. Emma slid her phone across the table. I have proof. Text messages, photos, hotel receipts. I scrolled through them. Messages between Victoria and Stephen, planning meetups, exchanging romantic photos. Victoria looked happy in the pictures, genuinely happy in a way I hadn't seen in years. Hotel receipts from the Hampton Inn, the Marriott spanning back 4 months, the eBay money. She'd been using Dad's legacy to pay for hotel rooms. Why are you showing me this? I asked. Because you didn't deserve this, any of it. Emma pulled her phone back, her expression pained. And because there's more. More? She hesitated. Long enough that I knew whatever came next would be worse than everything before. Victoria's pregnant. The coffee shop sounds faded. The world narrowed to just Emma's face and those 2 words echoing in my head. She's... what? 2 months along. Found out last week. I sat back slowly. Does Stephen know? Emma shook her head. No. His wife doesn't know about the affair either. Victoria's got a whole plan worked out. Her voice dripped with disgust. She was going to wait until the divorce was further along, then hit you with the pregnancy news. Get paternity testing, see how it shakes out. Then decide who to trap, you or Stephen, whoever turns out to be the father. The calculated cruelty of it knocked the breath out of me. Not just the affair, not just the theft, but planning to use a baby, my baby maybe, as a weapon or a payday depending on DNA results. Stephen has no idea? I asked quietly. None. He thinks they're just having fun. Doesn't know she's pregnant, doesn't know she's planning to test paternity and go after child support. Emma pulled her phone back out. I have copies of everything. The affair evidence, the messages about the pregnancy, all of it. You can use it in court if you need to. You're risking your relationship with your sister. I know. Emma met my eyes. But some things matter more than family loyalty, like basic human decency, like not letting someone get away with systematically destroying a good person's life. I took the phone, started forwarding everything to my email. Messages, photos, receipts, evidence of Victoria's affair, her plans, her casual cruelty. Thank you, I said. I'm sorry it came to this, Nolan, I really am. I left the coffee shop at 3:30 p.m. with a phone full of evidence and a decision already made. I sat in my truck and called Daniel. We need to meet, tomorrow morning, first thing, emergency session. What happened? Victoria's been having an affair, she's pregnant, and she doesn't know if it's mine or her affair partner's. Daniel whistled low. Send me everything you've got. I'll clear my Monday morning. I walked into Daniel's office at 9 a.m. Monday morning carrying my phone like it was evidence in a murder trial, which in a way it was, the murder of my marriage. Daniel poured 2 cups of coffee without asking, then gestured to the chair across from his desk. Show me what you've got. I forwarded Emma's evidence while he pulled it up on his computer. He spent the next 30 minutes clicking through text messages, photographs, hotel receipts. His expression shifted from professional focus to genuine shock. When he got to the messages about the pregnancy, he nearly fell out of his chair. Jesus, Nolan. Yeah. He sat back, rubbing his face. Okay. This changes everything. Adultery still matters in Texas. People forget that, but it absolutely matters for fault-based divorce. And the pregnancy? He shook his head. We can request a paternity test before anything's finalized. Non-invasive, just a blood draw. If it's not yours, she gets nothing in child support. If it is yours, we'll handle custody and support appropriately. I want her to get nothing, I said. Not one penny of my father's legacy. Not $1 of what I've built. Daniel leaned forward, his expression sharpening into something that reminded me why he'd never lost a custody case. Then here's what we do. We file for fault-based divorce citing adultery as primary grounds. We include a detailed itemized list of every stolen item with professional appraisals attached. We request full reimbursement of documented value, plus emotional damages for the destruction of irreplaceable family heirlooms. And we make it crystal clear that any pregnancy will be subject to immediate paternity testing before we discuss a single dollar of support. She's going to fight this. Let her fight. Daniel pulled up a legal pad, started taking notes. We have screenshots she can't delete. We have witness testimony from her own sister. We have bank records showing eBay deposits. We have transaction histories. Francis McGraw is a good attorney, Nolan, but he's working with a guilty client. We have the truth. That matters. You ever notice how the truth has weight? How it sits different than lies, feels solid in your hands? I had that weight now, and I wasn't letting go. Daniel spent Monday afternoon and all day Tuesday drafting the divorce papers. He called me Wednesday morning from the courthouse. Filed. It's official. How long until she's served? Process server will attempt delivery today. If she's not home, he'll try her work. The process server tried Thursday. Victoria wasn't home. He tried again Friday afternoon at 4 p.m., walked into the boutique where she worked, and handed her the papers in front of her coworkers. I know because he called me at 4:15 p.m. to confirm successful delivery. She read the first page and went white, he said. Thought you'd want to know. My phone started ringing at 4:30 p.m. Victoria's name lit up the screen. I watched it ring through to voicemail. She called back immediately. I let it ring again. Over the next 7.5 hours, she called 17 times. I saw her name every single time. Didn't answer once. The first voicemail was apologetic. Nolan, please. I know I made mistakes, but we can work through this together, for our marriage. Please call me back. The second was threatening. You're going to regret this, destroying our family over mistakes. You'll regret it, Nolan. I promise you'll regret it. The third was hysterical. Just crying. Please just talk to me, Nolan, please, I'm begging you, please. I listened to those 3. Deleted the remaining 14 without listening. Around midnight, the calls finally stopped. I sat in Dad's workshop, surrounded by the tools Victoria hadn't managed to sell, and felt nothing but cold satisfaction. She was scared now. Good. She should be. 2 weeks passed. No direct contact. Victoria tried texting. I blocked her number and told her all communication went through lawyers. Daniel called me on a Monday. First mediation session is scheduled, Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. Victoria and Francis will present their initial settlement demands. What do you think they'll ask for? Everything. The house, your retirement, spousal support. Francis will open aggressive, try to shock us into negotiating down to something still favorable for her. And what do? Daniel's laugh was sharp. We show them exactly what kind of case they're actually facing. Daniel and I walked into the mediator's office at exactly 10 a.m. Professional building, neutral territory, the kind of place where people dismantled their lives across conference tables. Victoria was already there. She sat beside Francis McGraw and I barely recognized her. 3 months pregnant and she looked 6. Her face was drawn, pale, dark circles shadowing her eyes like bruises. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by a plain cotton dress that looked like it came from Target, not the boutiques where she'd blown my father's legacy. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Francis stood when we entered, shook Daniel's hand. Professional courtesy. Victoria stayed seated, hands folded on the table, staring at nothing. The mediator, Calvin Anderson, opened the session at 10:15. Older guy, gray hair, neutral expression. He'd done this 1,000 times. We're here to facilitate settlement discussions between the parties. This is not a courtroom, this is a conversation. Mr. McGraw, would you like to present your client's initial position? Francis opened his folder. Mrs. Whitlock is requesting half the marital home value, approximately $175,000. Half of Mr. Whitlock's retirement accounts, approximately $60,000, and spousal support of $2,000 monthly for 3 years. I felt my jaw tighten. $247,000 total, plus $72,000 in support. She wanted over $300,000. Frances continued. Mrs. Whitlock contributed to this marriage as a homemaker. She's currently pregnant and extremely vulnerable. She needs financial stability to provide for their child. Daniel didn't react. Just waited until Frances finished. Then he slid a folder across the table. Your client committed adultery, Daniel said, his voice perfectly calm. She stole and sold approximately $8,400 worth of my client's separate inherited property, items that belonged to his deceased father, and she's currently pregnant with a child that may or may not be my client's. He opened the folder. eBay listings stared up at everyone, then Emma's text messages, photos of Victoria and Stephen, hotel receipts spanning months. Our counter-offer is simple, Daniel continued. Mrs. Whitlock receives 0 marital assets, 0 spousal support, and she provides full reimbursement of $8,400 for stolen property value. Victoria's face went crimson. She stared at the evidence like it might catch fire. You bastard! She turned on me, her voice shrill. You gave him Emma's, my own sister. Your sister acted as a moral witness, Daniel interrupted. She provided evidence of ongoing fraud and adultery. He looked at Frances. Do you wish to continue claiming your client deserves marital assets? Frances stared at the hotel receipts. His face had gone carefully blank. Is this true? He asked Victoria quietly. That's when she broke. Real tears, not the calculated ones she'd used on me for years. Her shoulders shook and she covered her face with both hands. I made mistakes, she sobbed. But Nolan's being cruel. I'm pregnant. Whose child are you carrying? I asked. My voice came out quiet. Cold. The conference room went silent. 15 seconds passed. Calvin shifted in his chair. Frances looked between Victoria and me. Daniel stayed perfectly still. It's yours, Victoria whispered. Prove it. I leaned forward slightly. Prenatal paternity test. This week. Those aren't safe, the baby. They're completely safe now, Daniel cut in. Non-invasive. Just a blood draw from you. If you refuse, we'll assume the child isn't his, and proceed accordingly. Frances was whispering urgently to Victoria, his hand on her arm. She looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her whole. Have you ever watched someone realize they're trapped? That every lie they told is collapsing on them at once? Victoria's face drained of color. Her hands were shaking. Perhaps, Calvin suggested carefully, we should take a 15-minute break. Private consultations. Frances was still whispering. Victoria's eyes were wet, her breathing uneven. Fine, she finally said, so quiet I almost didn't hear it. I'll do the test. Her voice barely made it across the table. Daniel called me at 8 a.m. Thursday. I was in the kitchen pouring coffee when my phone buzzed. It's yours, he said, no preamble. 99.9% certainty. The baby's yours, Nolan. I sat down at the table, set the coffee cup down carefully. Relief hit first, at least I knew. At least there was clarity. Then frustration because Victoria had been willing to trap either me or Stephen depending on who was more convenient. Then something unexpected. Protectiveness. That baby didn't ask for any of this. My daughter didn't deserve Victoria's chaos. You still there? Daniel asked. Yeah, I'm here. Even with confirmed paternity, we've got an incredibly strong case. The adultery's documented, the theft's documented. Francis knows he's working with nothing. When's the next session? Tuesday, but I think Victoria's done fighting. Monday afternoon, Daniel called again. Francis requested a private discussion. Says Victoria's ready to settle. They talked at 4 p.m. Daniel called me afterward, sounding satisfied. Francis admitted her position's legally untenable, asked what terms you'd accept. What did you say? Everything we already offered, modified for the pregnancy. You ready to hear this? I grabbed a pen. Go ahead. Victoria gets 0 house equity, 0 retirement distribution, 0 spousal support. She reimburses you $8,400 over 24 months through wage garnishment, $350 a month. You pay state guideline child support based on your income, about $800 monthly. You get primary custody. She gets supervised visitation until she proves stable housing and employment for 6 consecutive months. And the stolen items? She provides written inventory of everything sold. Helps you attempt recovery from buyers when possible. I thought about Dad's toolbox, the medals, the pocket watch. Most were gone forever, but maybe I could get a few pieces back. That's fair, I said. Frances is calling back tomorrow with her answer. Tuesday morning, Frances confirmed Victoria accepted everything. The settlement finalized that afternoon at 3 p.m. Same conference room, same mediator. Victoria looked like hell. 4 months pregnant now, showing noticeably. Dark circles under her eyes. No makeup. Hands shaking as Calvin slid the papers across the table. She signed each page slowly. Calvin notarized every signature. I signed too. Felt nothing but cold finality. When it was done, Victoria looked at me. Will you be there? For the birth? I'll be there for my daughter, I said quietly. Not for you. She flinched like I'd slapped her. But what did she expect? Forgiveness? Reconciliation? She'd sold my father's legacy for purses. Cheated on me. Been willing to trap another man with the baby if it wasn't mine. Actions have consequences. The final judgment filed Wednesday morning. Victoria had 2 weeks to vacate any claim on the house. She moved out Saturday with nothing but her clothes and toiletries. Didn't ask for furniture, dishes, anything. Just packed her designer wardrobe into trash bags and left. I heard she rented a 1-bedroom apartment across town. $900 a month, nearly half her boutique income before wage garnishment for the reimbursement. The following Tuesday, Emma called. Thought you should know. Victoria's in bad shape, working double shifts to cover rent, pregnancy's hitting her hard, morning sickness, exhaustion. She's alone, Nolan. Stephen? Oh, that's the best part. Emma's voice carried bitter amusement. Victoria got desperate and angry after the settlement. Called Stephen's wife Diane directly. Told her everything out of pure spite. Diane filed for divorce within a week. Stephen wants absolutely nothing to do with Victoria or the baby. So Victoria destroyed his marriage too. Yeah. And he's furious at her for it. Won't return her calls. Blocked her number. I thought about feeling sympathy, couldn't find it. Is the baby okay? Baby's fine. Victoria's seeing her OB regularly. But she's miserable, Nolan. Completely alone. Working herself sick. Can barely afford groceries after rent and garnishment. She made her choices. Emma was quiet for a moment. Yeah, she did. The text came at 11:17 p.m. Tuesday. In labor. Heading to hospital. Thought you'd want to know. I grabbed my keys and drove. Didn't think about it, didn't hesitate. Whatever Victoria had done, whatever she'd destroyed, this baby was mine. My daughter deserved a father who showed up. Arrived at 11:45 p.m. Found her in labor and delivery, room 304. She looked exhausted already, frightened in a way I hadn't seen since the mediation. You came, she whispered. Thank you. I'm here for my daughter, I said quietly. I want her to know from day one that I showed up. Victoria nodded, eyes wet. Didn't argue. Labor progressed slowly. Hours crawled past midnight into early morning. I stayed in the room, got her ice chips when she asked, adjusted pillows, kept track of contractions when the nurses checked in. But I didn't hold her hand, didn't brush hair from her forehead, provided practical support without emotional intimacy. Around 2 a.m. between contractions, Victoria tried to talk. Nolan, I've been thinking, maybe after the baby comes we could try. How far apart are the contractions now? What? The contractions. You had one 4 minutes ago. How do you feel? She got the message. Stopped trying to rebuild what she'd burned down. At 4 a.m. Do you think she'll have your eyes? Let's focus on getting through this first. At 5 a.m. I'm scared. You're doing fine. The nurses said everything's progressing normally. I wasn't cruel, just clear. This was about our daughter, not about us. There was no us anymore. Clara Whitlock was born at 6:43 a.m. Wednesday morning. 7 pounds, 4 ounces. Dark hair like mine. Victoria's nose. Screaming her head off. Red-faced and furious at being forced into the world. The nurse cleaned her quickly. then handed her to me at 7:15 a.m., and everything changed. I'd thought I understood love before, thought I'd loved Victoria once, thought I'd loved my father. But holding Clara, tiny, fragile, perfect, I understood protection in a way I never had. This small person was mine to defend, to raise, to teach about dignity and consequences and showing up when it mattered. "She's beautiful," Victoria said softly from the bed. "Isn't she beautiful?" "Yeah." My voice came out rough. "She's perfect." Victoria watched me with Clara for a long moment. Then, so quietly I almost missed it. Maybe this could be a new beginning. For us. I looked at her. Really looked. Saw the hope in her face. The desperate need for forgiveness. "Clara will have two parents who love her," I said plainly. "But you and I will never reconcile, Victoria. That's done." Her face crumpled. But she didn't argue. Maybe she'd finally learned that some things, once broken, stay broken. I spent the day learning to be a father. Held Clara for hours. Changed my first diaper. Badly. But the nurse showed me how to do it right. Practiced bottle feeding when Victoria tried to nurse and couldn't manage it through exhaustion. Victoria slept most of the day, recovering. I was grateful for the quiet. Left Wednesday evening at 8 p.m., kissed Clara's forehead, whispered, "I'll be back tomorrow, sweetheart. I promise." They discharged Thursday afternoon. The custody arrangement started the following Monday. I had Clara Monday through Wednesday. Victoria got Thursday through Sunday, for now. The agreement stated we'd revisit as Clara got older and circumstances changed. I'd spent the weekend preparing. Pale yellow walls in the guest bedroom, white crib I'd assembled Saturday night, soft blankets, bottles, diapers, everything the parenting book said I'd need, and Dad's photograph on the wall. Gerald Whitlock smiling in his workshop, holding the toolbox Victoria had tried to sell. Clara would grow up knowing her grandfather, knowing what he stood for. Monday afternoon, I brought Clara home for the first time. She cried. A lot. Cried when I changed her. Cried when I fed her. Cried when I held her. Cried when I put her down. I stumbled through it. Made mistakes. Called Daniel's wife Michelle at midnight Tuesday, panicking because Clara wouldn't stop screaming. Michelle laughed gently and talked me through colic remedies. But even exhausted, even terrified I was doing everything wrong, I felt purpose. This was what mattered. Not revenge, not settlements, not Victoria's consequences. This small person, screaming in my arms, depending on me to show up. I looked at Dad's photo on the wall. "I've got her," I whispered. "I promise." Clara hiccuped, quieted slightly, and I held her until she finally, mercifully, fell asleep. I brought 18-month-old Clara to daycare at 8:30 a.m. on a Tuesday. She'd been going 3 days a week for a month now, gave me time to work, gave her time with other kids. She loved it. "Good morning." The teacher in the toddler room had kind eyes and an easy laugh. "You must be Clara's dad. I'm Rosemary Taylor." "Nolan Whitlock." I shifted Clara on my hip. She's been excited all morning. Clara reached for Rosemary without hesitation. No fear, no tears, just trust. Rosemary took her gently. "Well, hello, sweet girl. Ready to play with blocks today?" Clara nodded enthusiastically. "Blocks, Gamma Gerald." I smiled. She talks about my father constantly. He died before she was born, but I tell her stories. "That's beautiful." Rosemary's expression softened. Family legacy matters. Something about the way she said it, genuine, not performative, made me look at her twice. Over the next few weeks, we started talking during drop-off. Just brief conversations. How Clara slept, what she ate, normal parent-teacher stuff. Then one morning, Clara mentioned Grandpa Gerald's toolbox yesterday during playtime. She said you're teaching her about wrenches. I laughed. She hands me tools in the workshop, doesn't know what half of them do, but she loves helping. Your father taught you the same way? Yeah. Spent hours in his garage learning about craftsmanship and patience. I paused. My ex-wife hated it. Thought I was too attached to the past. Rosemary met my eyes. Some people don't understand that honoring where we came from doesn't mean we're stuck there. Right then, I knew I wanted to know her better. 3 months after we met, I asked her to coffee. Saturday afternoon, Neutral territory, just talking. She told me about teaching, about growing up in a big family that valued stories and traditions. I told her about Dad, about the divorce, about building a life for Clara that honored what mattered. We took it slow. 4 months of dating before she met Clara outside of school. Clara loved her immediately. Rosie, read story. Rosemary laughed and settled onto the couch with a picture book. Clara climbed into her lap like they'd done this 100 times. I watched them together and thought, this is what good looks like. Victoria noticed 6 months in, started making custody difficult, last-minute schedule changes, questions about who was around Clara, thinly veiled accusations about Rosemary's presence. Daniel sent Frances a letter, reminded Victoria about settlement terms, warned that instability on her part could trigger custody modification proceedings. Victoria backed down fast. 8 months into my relationship with Rosemary, Victoria started dating someone, Todd Sanders. Seemed decent enough, employed, polite, kind to Clara during Victoria's weekends. I hoped for Clara's sake he actually was decent. She deserved at least one stable parent on Victoria's side. My life became something I hadn't thought possible 2 years earlier. Clara grew into this talkative, energetic kid who loved the workshop. I'd rebuilt Dad's workspace using the tools I'd kept and ones I'd replaced. Taught her about screwdrivers and wrenches the way Dad taught me. This one, Daddy? She'd hand me something completely wrong. Close, sweetheart. That's a Phillips head. I need the flat one. She'd scrunch her face in concentration, then triumphantly present the right tool. Perfect. You know, your grandpa Gerald taught me this exact same way. Grandpa was smart. The smartest. And he would have loved you so much. The house filled with new memories that honored the old ones. Clara's laughter in the kitchen. Rosemary's gentle presence during dinners. Photographs on the wall showing 3 generations of Whitlocks. You ever rebuild something from wreckage and realize it's better than what you had before? That's what this was. 2.5 years after Clara's birth, I decided to propose. Took Clara ring shopping on a Wednesday afternoon. She was 3 now, old enough to have opinions about everything. We're picking something special for Rosie, I explained in the jewelry store. Pretty ring? Exactly. Which one do you think she'd love? Clara pressed her nose against the glass case, studying options with intense concentration. Pointed at a simple sapphire. Blue stone, delicate band, nothing flashy. Nothing Victoria would have chosen. Everything Rosemary would love. That one, Daddy, blue like Rosie's favorite. You're absolutely right, sweetheart. Saturday evening, I set it up in Dad's workshop. Rosemary arrived at 6, smiling when she saw Clara bouncing with barely contained excitement. What's going on here? Clara has something for you, I said. Clara grabbed the ring box from the workbench. We'd practiced this 17 times, and toddled over to Rosemary, giggling. For Rosie. Rosemary opened the box. Her hand went to her mouth. I knelt down. My father taught me about building things that last, about showing up, about choosing people who honor what matters. You do all of that, Rosemary. You love Clara. You love hearing about Dad. You made this house feel like home again. Will you marry me? Tears streamed down her face. Happy ones. Yes. Yes, absolutely yes. Clara cheered. I stood and kissed Rosemary while our daughter clapped and Dad's photograph smiled from the wall. This was what victory looked like. Emma's call came on a Thursday afternoon 2 months before the wedding. Nolan, it's Emma. Thought you should know, Victoria got fired from the boutique yesterday. I was at my desk reviewing invoices. Put down my pen. What happened? Caught stealing from the register. $300 over 2 weeks. Emma sighed. She's broke. Behind on her reimbursement payments to you. And Todd left her. My first thought wasn't about Victoria. Is Clara okay? Clara's fine. She's with you most of the time anyway, but Victoria's in bad shape, Nolan. Really bad. Thanks for letting me know, Emma. I ended the call and sat there for a minute. Thought about feeling sympathy. Couldn't find it. Victoria called that night at 9. I almost didn't answer. Nolan? Please, I need help. I can't make rent. I'm going to get evicted and Victoria, stop. Please just listen. You owe me $8,400. Court-ordered reimbursement for everything you stole. You're already behind on those payments. I know, but I lost my job and Todd's gone and I don't have anywhere to turn. Sell your designer bags. Silence. What? You've still got purses and shoes you bought with my father's medals. Sell them. Cover your rent. You can't be serious. Dead serious. The court order stands, Victoria. Figure it out. She hung up. I felt nothing. Filed for full custody modification the following Thursday. Daniel drafted the petition citing Victoria's theft conviction, housing instability, and inability to maintain employment. 3 weeks later, we stood before Judge Albert Clarkson. Victoria looked terrible. Thinner, older, wearing a cheap blazer that didn't fit right. Daniel presented evidence methodically. Termination paperwork from the boutique, theft conviction from the criminal case, documentation of Victoria's unstable housing, and missed reimbursement payments. Francis tried. Your Honor, Ms. Whitlock is working to improve her circumstances. She deserves continued meaningful access to her daughter. Judge Clarkson reviewed the file for 5 long minutes. Mr. Whitlock receives full primary custody. Ms. Whitlock will have supervised visitation every other weekend, pending her proving 6 consecutive months of stable employment and housing. Court's adjourned. Victoria didn't even cry, just sat there looking hollow. Clara didn't notice the change. Still happy, still laughing, still helping me match socks and asking why hammers make noise. You ever watch someone face consequences and realize you're not cruel for letting it happen? You're just done being merciful? Rosemary and I got married 4 months after the proposal. Small ceremony, 30 people, backyard strung with lights. Clara wore a white dress and carried a basket of roses, grinning so wide I thought her face might crack. Emma came with her kids. Several of Dad's old friends showed up, guys from his shop, neighbors he'd helped over the years. They told stories about his terrible jokes and his stubborn kindness. Victoria wasn't invited, didn't try to show up. The house became ours. Mine, Rosemary's, Clara's. We hung new photos alongside Dad's picture, wedding shots, Clara's birthday parties, family dinners. Clara, 3.5 now, spent afternoons in the workshop, handed me screwdrivers and asked questions about Grandpa Gerald. Did he build houses? Just fixed things. Made them better. Like you? Trying to be, sweetheart. Rosemary got pregnant 6 months after the wedding. A boy. We named him Gerald without hesitation. Saw Victoria every other weekend at supervised exchanges. She looked worse each time. Tired, worn, working minimum wage somewhere. Living in some cramped apartment. Alone. I felt satisfied. Not happy she was suffering. I'm not a monster. But satisfied that actions had real consequences. That theft and betrayal didn't get rewarded with second chances. Her text came on a Tuesday evening. Can you reduce the reimbursement payments? I'm struggling. Might get evicted. Thought about it for maybe 5 seconds. Texted back. The court order stands. You sold items worth $8,400. You pay back $8,400. Should have thought about consequences before you stole from your husband's dead father. She didn't respond. Went back to the workshop. Clara and Rosemary were waiting. This one, Daddy? Clara handed me a wrench, beaming. Perfect, sweetheart. Rosemary kissed my cheek, her belly round with Gerald. Dad's photograph smiled from the wall. I looked around at my family, my workshop, my home built on foundations no one could steal. Victoria was somewhere out there, living with her choices. I was here, living with mine. I knew exactly which life I'd choose. This one. Every single time. I believe stories such as this find us for a reason. If this one touches you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day. In the meantime, there are 2 stories on the screen that are even better.